We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Nick Barris along this morning with the professor from Vanderbilt, Thomas Schwartz. Nice to have you on political science and the like. We got calls. Let's start ripping through some of these. As we're talking about national security and what we've seen lately over the past week and how people feel about it, we'll go to Ethel. Hello, Ethel.
Hey, good morning, Nick. How you doing?
Good morning, ma'am. What's on your mind?
Well, I've called several times, and each time I say, I go to the Bible to look for answers.
Sure.
And Matthew, the 24th chapter, the 7th verse says, for all nations, it says, for nations shall rise against nations, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. Then if you go back to the 6th verse in the same chapter, it also says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass. Now, if God has spoken this, how can we stop? We can't stop it, because it has been spoken by God. And the only thing we can do is stop putting our trust in man and trust in God. Stop trying to impress man, because when you do that, all your work is vain. But if you put your trust in God instead of man, then
Sure.
we can't stop what God have already spoken.
Well, sure. Yeah, I'm a biblical scholar on this. Without getting too much into the passage and her statement there about whether or not God's advocating war, but to me, many of these conflicts are religious based, are they not? I mean, certainly. Does ISIS feel that their faith and the Muslim faith, in perhaps their twisted interpretation, clashes with the American way?
They want to make that the narrative. They want to make that the issue, and that's actually one of the reasons why some people really dislike the association that one of the presidential candidates, Trump, makes with Muslims, because the argument is that this is an internal war within Islam, not a war of Islam against the West, and that you need Muslims as allies.
Right, because not all Muslims. As
not all Muslims, yes,
as I said,
very
folks,
much so.
It's interpretation. And just as we heard from Ethel and her interpretation, but I mean, it's interpretation, and certainly not all Muslims.
Not all Muslims
are abiding by ISIS's interpretation of that faith.
And these days we do emphasize perhaps more the religious motivations of conflict because of the issue in the Middle East. But we've had political and far different types. The radicalization during the Cold War was between left and right, and those on the communist side who wanted to create a secular communist society. So it's not always been religion at the forefront of our conflicts.
Gotcha. Let's go next to Brian. Hi, Brian.
Good morning, Catville.
How are
you? That's my buddy Cat.
You got your cat. Good morning to you, Brian.
The guy, he's a big 14-pound chartreuse. He's a good boy. I rescued him. He's a rescue.
Ah, beautiful cat.
But anyway, yeah, he's gorgeous, big gray. He's got no neck, big muscles. Anyway, always seem to be following Ethel. Jeez.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Reverend Fonz might have a little more effect on it. I don't know what to say. I think maybe we got an early October surprise. This guy, last time he was on, I was schooling him about, it's cyclical. It's just the Republicans' turn. And this is going to just help Trump. I swear to God, it's going to get elected. And you know what? When I said that it's, goes in cycles, my almost exact words were said on one of these Sunday morning news programs. I go, oh my God, I just said that, and nobody's been saying it.
About what? About these types of attacks coming in cycles?
Oh, it's cycles. No, the party's being elected.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're talking. Well, we're going to get to this, and I'm glad Brian just now did, about the politicizing of these types of attacks. And as he just said, he thinks when this type of thing happens, it's going to perhaps help Donald Trump. And you hear it going on both sides. Talk to that maybe, because both candidates have spoken out since this has happened.
Yeah, no, there's an interesting contradiction within the polls that show that Trump has a slight advantage over Hillary Clinton in dealing with terrorism as an issue, but that on temperament and national security generally, Clinton has an advantage. So the question really is how people interpret this. If Trump is able to make this into an issue that's much more about terrorism, immigration, and law and order, the sort of thing where we just have to be tough without getting into specifics, without saying exactly what he would do, he'll get the advantage from it. On the other hand, if Clinton can make tie it into the temperament question that she's raised, that this man doesn't have the temperament to be president of the United States, she may benefit, just as she did after the Orlando attack when he said some things and then did not look as presidential. This time he was a little more cautious initially, although he did say immediately it was a bomb. But now he's taking it on the offensive and blaming Clinton for it and all the rest. So I think a lot of this actually, though, in this particular incident, will not have a great deal of effect because the debate is so near that the debate will probably be key in how they're seen in handling this issue.
Well, sure. And by the way, yeah, the first debate, is that Monday?
It's Monday.
It's Monday.
It's coming Monday.
I thought it was Monday night, which I think these will be some of the most watched debates in history. And maybe I should know this. Is there a theme for the debate? This first one?
Lester Holt has 3 themes that he's going to do. One is about national security. One will be on the economy. He's going to do segments in 3 parts.
That's what I thought. Okay, I wasn't sure. Thank you for that. It's going to be very interesting to watch. But yeah, you have Donald Trump kind of saying, look, this is happening under this administration. Hillary is part of that one way or the other as former Secretary of State. And he's talking about her maybe not being strong enough. On the other hand, you have Hillary now saying, too, listen, Donald Trump's candidacy is a recruiting tool for the terrorists. And, you know, she's throwing that out there that's our worst scenario because they're going to point to this guy and say, boy, you need to join us now, you know? And so back and forth. Politics, you knew that was going to be part of it.
It had to be. Everything that happens between now and November 8th will be politicized in one manner or another.
And the truth is, in my opinion, when it comes to something like ISIS and these types of terrorist attacks, I don't care who our sitting president is, whether or not it's Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent, whatever it may be, they're going to be dealing with the same darn problem.
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't think any one of those parties are going to have any particular bearing on how these people react and if they target us. It's just how you go about stopping them. Let's go next to, let's see, I think we've got Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Cindy. What's on your mind?
Well, anyway, I do believe that we got a serious problem, and it was Hillary and Obama, but it started back a long time ago. And I think we have a serious issue. I won't even go downtown. And Lord knows I won't go to Antioch anymore. It is so dangerous. I worked in jobs, okay? And I had to work with Somalis, and I'm being nice. And they hated me. They all say I'm going to hell. And so did the Muslims.
Well, I don't know that that's true, but yeah, that was just your personal experience, huh?
That's true.
That's your personal experience. Well, I'll say this. I mean, the large crowds that we see in Nashville's a happening place on the weekends, or heck, I go to Titans games. But, you know, just a few weeks back, it wasn't a terrorist attack or something like that, but there's a fellow walking down, you know, 2nd and Broad with his girlfriend, took a bullet in the shoulder. No one knew where it came from. Could have been a stray. Did someone just fire willy-nilly into the crowd from some distance away? He was okay, but he felt a pain. Reaches back and his hand's bleeding. I mean, things like that. And then you think about, you know, how easy it would be and how hard it is to stop someone who loads something into a backpack in any big crowd, you know, during some type of an event and drops it into perhaps a concealed garbage can. You know, you cannot stop it.
Well,
you can't. Now, you may be able to catch the person responsible after the fact, maybe, but stopping that beforehand, unless someone just happens to be aware and spot it, you can't stop it.
I'm old enough to remember my first trip to Britain in the 70s, and they had gotten rid of all the garbage cans in the streets because Irish terrorists would put bombs in garbage cans, and so they simply got rid of them. And in a way, we're going to probably have to learn to live with the fact that there's going to be a certain amount of uncertainty. I think it's probably inevitable that
we do. You come to our station every day, and over the last several years, we now have our parking lots fenced in, barbed wire, okay, you know, just security. It's a good idea. In front, we have those huge, round, decorative boulders in front, just like, what are they called? Bollards. And then they have those giant planters outside Titan Stadium. Those are not there for decor, even though, you know, you could say they look nice, and those things are there for the express reason of stopping a car or truck bomb from driving into a crowded stadium, crashing the gate, and detonating. Same thing with someone plowing into this TV station. And that's why it's there, and it's horrible to think about, but that's what we've added just in the last 2 or 3 years.
So anybody who knows Washington, D.C. over time knows how much has changed.
I worked in D.C. Years. It was back in the 90s, and I've been back since. And back then, obviously that was well before September 11th. The security there now is unbelievable, and I thought it was heavy back then. Wow. Let's go next to Ann. Hello, Ann.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You knew me well enough to know that I respond to the parent first. And as a parent, Saturday evening, I was getting text way before the media knew that a bomb had gone off in New York. And text continued way before the media responding on the TV because I had a child that was in Chelsea.
Oh, wow.
I want to commend New York for their infrastructure. I have a wild child that walked across the country by herself, and she now lives in New York. My confidence was built in humanity when my child walked across America by herself, and now that she has survived a weekend in New York with bombs going off, and the fact that the infrastructure for the citizens of New York to know what was going on as it was going on before the media was alerted, so that the citizens could do what the citizens needed to do to be safe.
Hey, what does your daughter do in New York now?
She's a stand-up comedian.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. So she was nearby, or she lives in Chelsea?
She was working in
Chelsea at one of the clubs there when that happened. Well, I'm so glad she's okay, and I appreciate your call. Certainly New York City, of all the cities in this country, is probably the most prepared and recognizes, too, not just because of September 11th, but because of everything else in that city, that it is an obvious target for terrorists.
Absolutely, yeah. Certainly, anytime there's an international event, we were talking earlier about the United Nations and the president and the world leaders coming, they have to ramp up security, and they have been ramping up security for the last 50 to 100 years. So,
yeah.
But it's particularly now. And what the caller mentioned, I mean, the information that got out quickly to dispel rumors, to reassure people, to also to allow people to check on their loved ones is also pretty amazing these days.
Yeah, that is. Mary, did you say we need to take a break? Okay, here, we'll just squeeze Bob in real quick. Bob, good morning.
Well, how are we doing? Give me a few seconds here.
Okay. Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Appreciate the show and stuff like that. Just the problem is the public's not getting enough information, and no one wants to be considered a person of interest or a suspect. You look at Sully, or the pilot Blue Angels pilot got killed here. Just because he didn't pop out of the plane, he couldn't defend himself. Sully got fussed at for landing in the river and saving all of his life. It's just I don't understand a lot of the fussing at the heroes.
Fussing at the heroes.
Yes.
Have you seen Sully?
I have not, but I know
I saw
the
it.
story.
I think you could argue that that's Clint Eastwood's interpretation of what really happened. I have nothing but respect for Sully Sullenberger, an amazing pilot. But yeah, I mean, look, the administration looks into anything, be it a bombing or people. One of the saddest cases that I can remember of perhaps the media especially, and then law enforcement to some degree throwing him to the wolves, was the case of, was it Richard Pearl, the Olympic bombing in 1997, where it turned out to be
this radical anti-abortion.
Why am I spacing out on his name? Eric Rudolph.
Right.
Eric Rudolph. But Richard Jewell, who was a security guard who spotted that and alerted people and literally saved lives, was then crucified as being a suspect in that case because there was such a rush to judgment, and he was nothing short of a hero and nothing more. That man passed away a few years back. It destroyed him. It destroyed him, and it was wrong, and it was horrible, and that was a wonderful example, and I say wonderful in the sense that you need to take note of it, of how the media and other things, when you rush to judgment because you're so desperate to hold someone responsible, and in that case, we held a hero responsible and destroyed his life. So, but that's why you take your time and you look into anything. And of course, Sully, in the way he landed, it was completely cleared of any wrongdoing. No one ever said he did anything wrong, but they had to look into it. Make sure, hey, why'd you land in the Hudson? You know what? He had a darn good reason, and he is an amazing pilot. We'll take a break. Be back in our final segment with more of your calls right after this.